The next question revolves around parenting. The question asks, parenting should not be the responsibility of government, but how can we help kids if they don't work with families?
That's a very good question. I pushed an initiative which the Philadelphia School Board has. They call parent desks, and basically the concierge desks, which talk a great deal about some of the skill set parents need to have. Secondly, there's a program called Parents with Power, run by a woman named Darlene Collins, as she travels around the city and organizes what parents should know. And then there's an initiative I pushed together called the Kid Zone, which also talks about the aspect of parenting. Look, I think the toughest job in the world is to be a parent. It's a job much tougher than being mayor, president, or governor of the United States. And I do believe we have to find ways to begin to get people to understand what it means to be a parent and personal responsibility. Now, there's a number of ways. I mean, obviously, churches can play a very good role in that. The AFL-CIO, the Chamber of Commerce. We need to talk. We need to have a campaign in this city where we talk about the importance of what it means to be a parent and the responsibility that it has. I mean, if a lot of things could happen just among the parents, there could be a lot of things that change in our schools and our communities. So I'm saying to you that no, I don't believe that government should be the answer in terms of dealing with the question of parenting. I believe, in an ideal situation, usually how people learn how to be parents is they usually learn from someone else. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. But I think there's some basic principles that people should have. I'm not saying they should be mandated or some kind of law relating to parenting, but we need to start having these conversations about parenting because I believe a lot of the problems that we're having today really face on the question about parental responsibility. That's why in the TV commercial that I did, where I talk about the table, I talk about where adults talk about the difference between what is right and wrong in terms of talking to our kids. But as adults, we have to set a better example. I mean, there has to be civility in politics. There has to be civility in our government. It has to be civility in our private sector and how we talk to each other, how we deal with each other. Because kids and young people are watching how we as adults conduct ourselves.
The next question deals with one of the departments within the city government. The Department of License and Inspections is, I believe, one of the most important departments when it comes to quality of life issues. Would you consider overhauling and funding this important department?
The answer is yes. I don't disagree with you on that question. I think a lot of times where our abandoned problems end up and how we get to the point is because we haven't done something what I would call early warning. Things that we should know, be more aggressive about how people have standards about their property. I mean, even, a lot of times if we did it right with the license and inspection, we wouldn't get to a point where we end up in abandonment and other kinds of problems in our neighborhood. So there is no question that L&I could be and should be used in a more effective way than it currently has been used. And yes, I will be committed to trying to find, because remember, I said to you, I want to reduce violence. If I want to reduce violence, I have to deal with quality of life. We cannot have quality of life problems escalate to a point where all of a sudden it's like you see your hole in the roof of your house, and you realize that you have the hole in the roof of your house, and then you don't do anything about it. Pretty soon, then it turns into a flood. It goes from one little problem to a major problem. Well, that's what I would say to you has happened in the city of Philadelphia, when we don't use the entities that are responsible, such as L&I, in a more effective way.
Next question is short and to the point. Should Congressman Brady be taken off the ballot?
Well, that's up to the courts to decide that. Basically, a number of people have been taken off of the ballots as a result of that particular action. I think that Congressman Brady is not above the law. If he did not do what he was supposed to do relating to that, then he should be taken off the ballot. But clearly that's up to the court to decide, and it's clear to me, and again, I'm only going by from what I read in the newspaper accounts. If he has not followed the law, then he needs to be taken off the ballot.
The next question deals with the latest developments in the high schools, what will be your plan to help make the schools safer for both students and teachers?
Well, the first thing I want to say to the teacher at Germantown High School, Mr. Bird, that I really very sorry to see what was taking relating to him, and I really am very outraged and disappointed. Here was a teacher who was just taking this iPod, and this 11th grader who he knew did this negative action. That person obviously should be expelled as well as prosecuted. That person was wrong and should not be accepted. Same thing with the 9th grader. It was wrong and that shouldn't be accepted. So the first thing I think needs to be said is there needs to be a tone set by the mayor with the CEO that this kind of behavior is not going to be accepted. This is not acceptable behavior. The second thing is the same thing in West Philadelphia. Same thing with the incident that happened with the substitute who got punched in the face. Those individuals should be expelled and should not be accepted. But I do want to say one thing. I do not believe the vast majority of children at Germantown or West Philadelphia would condone or support this kind of action. I don't believe that vast majority of kids. It is unfortunate in the case of Germantown. I think it was two students, and in the case of West Philadelphia, it was 3. I think they caught 1. But I think they should be prosecuted. I think they should be expelled, and they should not go back in those schools. And then we must make sure we send a message for the kids and for our teachers that the environment is going to be safe. But I think it's important also to understand something else. I don't believe that the vast majority of kids or parents support that kind of behavior. As a matter of fact, they would stand tall for those kids to be prosecuted, and we should go after those particular kids. But we got to talk about the environments that are taking place in our schools. There is something wrong when kids or teachers cannot be in schools where learning is taking place. So I want you to be clear. I would not tolerate it. It would be zero tolerance on my part, and it's not acceptable behavior.
You've spoken in the past about your position in Harrisburg being helpful for your run for the next mayor, or when you will be serving as next mayor. Can you just expound on that a little bit, how your position as chairman of appropriations would be helpful to you as the next mayor of Philadelphia?
Well, I think that, I think what I've been able to do is influence the course of direction in this city, the education system, the economic development, the policing. But as mayor, I can change the course of direction. And the things I want to change is obviously, first and foremost, the way we do policing, modernization in our police department, new different kind of leadership in our police department. And as mayor, I would be able to take that action. As a legislator, I couldn't influence it because that's up to the mayor in terms of the position the mayor puts in terms of the police commissioner. So as a legislator, the only thing I can do is try to influence some actions. As mayor, you can take direct action. If you want to change the police department, if you want to change where departments and how they operate, like someone mentioned L&I, you can take direct action. As a legislator, only thing you could try to do is influence the action. You can't take direct action. I'm prepared to take direct action. The thing I said I wanted to do more than anything is make this a safer city. I'm determined to make this a safer city. I can only make that happen as mayor. I cannot make that happen as a legislator.